Hi everyone and welcome back. We hope that you had a refreshing break and are all set for our last session here on Main Stage B. This session will be about how AI is solving global challenges.
This one's going to be super interesting. And to kick it off, we have a keynote by Lukáš Kršek, who is responsible for the business development at WEDOS.
WEDOS is a European cybersecurity and infrastructure company headquartered here in Luxembourg. Please give a warm hand for Lukáš. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Just want to quickly check the technical aspect. Is everybody hearing me? Can you raise your left finger? Everybody's hearing? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for attending. My name is Lukáš Kršek. I'm here. I'm going to be presenting to today something that I have aptly named the European AnyCast quest, which might be a little prompt saying that I am very much a big fan of fantasy, so I've used the word quest in that. I will be mixing today three main topics that will be the important and the basis of the presentation. One is about Europe and sovereignty, dependency. Second is about cyber threats of this, so I'll be talking a bit about DDoS. And third, most importantly, is how to find a solution and how to work so that there is a way that we can protect against the evolving cyber threats of the landscape today. So first, very simply about Europe. Currently, there is three main things that are kind of swarming it. There's a lot of regulation that is pushing many European companies into greater importance of data security and sovereignty. Now, this regulation is sometimes complicated for European companies because they would be dependent on American companies or hyperscalers in providing these type of solutions, which they cannot use anymore. And there's simply not enough European alternatives to fill this void, fill this gap, where there is on one part the businesses that needs to continue working, but then they are being pushed by others to not use the solutions that they have been known to use today. And this impact, there is a inherent security and general risk in strategy when you are dependent on what could possibly be your geopolitical enemies or adversaries. So as Europe is more and more digitalizing and this more dependent on data and digitalization in all sectors around Europe, such as digital banking, healthcare, identities, energetics and services, there is more and more importance in keeping all these sectors safe and secure, because it's what I call caring responsibility. This chain that we have built, that's very, let's say, digital dependent. The thing is that if there is one point in the chain that breaks, it impacts the whole system, the whole ecosystem, which is not easy, right? And the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So here I would like to just quickly say what we are as a company. We are a critical business provider, specifically web hosting, providing services for banks and institutions in the countries. So these are the very important to be kept update because and functioning, because people are dependent on it when it comes to, you know, them searching up what bus they can take, getting to school, when they can be married, you know, and all these different things. So it's critical. It's not just, in my case, as I like to say, we didn't just host the websites that the information would be hosted on. We hosted economies because the people were dependent on the information and access to it. So in this case, when there is a surface of an area of attack that is small, that's easy to knock out, and the system goes down with it, it's a big problem. Such trouble happened last year in Luxembourg very often, because when a part of the chain went out, everything died. And that's very problematic, especially in the case when currently many European companies, even unknowingly, are dependent on non-European services, which even makes the risk bigger. Now, I do not want to talk about DDoS specifically, because I'm pretty sure even your grandmas have heard about it at this time, but I want to talk about impact. The thing is that when you are able to knock out a company, it's not just, let's say, the website that goes down, but you have to count with a lot more different problems that then occur in the company. There is loss of revenue, of course. There's loss of market share. There are remediation costs and loss of productivity because the people who would be in the company cannot work at that time. So, and importantly, also damage brand reputation. And very, let's say, there was a study by ENISA, by the European Cybersecurity Agency, stating that a DDoS of a very low amount of traffic is enough to knock out most of the businesses that operate in Europe, which is a big problem. Which leads me to show you what is our story currently. So we did start as a web hosting business, but became part of critical infrastructure, so providing services that were necessary for people to go on with their life and regularly live. But and at that time, when there was an outage, it caused a serious difficulty for everybody involved, because it wasn't just us impacted, it was the whole economy. In 2021, with the war in Ukraine, we started to be targeted more and more because of our continuous support of Ukraine, which led to stronger attacks that have been able to knock us out and in turn also knock out all the services that we would be providing, which led to a little wake-up call for us, because we realized that currently, if we have just one surface area, small surface area of attack that's vulnerable and that can be attacked, it's a great risk to the whole economy. So we first try to outsource the issue, as many do, and we have found lackluster. Let's say we weren't really happy with the solutions that were provided, especially the European alternatives that would be here on this continent. So we realized that to face this problem, first, we cannot do it alone, and second, we must dip our hands in and pivot into cybersecurity ourselves, to put our hands and, let's say, invent something, use technologies that have already been used and have already been known about in securing and making Europe more sovereign and resilient. So this led to January 2022, which is a time in our, let's say, timeline, where we have deployed our first AnyCast point of presence. It's complicated technical jargon that I will do my best to explain in Vienna. Now, when I was talking about surface area, the thing is, whenever there is one point that can be attacked, it's dangerous. And if there is many dependent places, many dependent businesses or services on that one point, when you knock it out, the attacker wins, which is, well, not really nice for the defender, who most of the time in the current landscape is on the defensive. The attacker will always have more weapons, he will have intel, inside information into what works best to attack such a company, and there are state-sponsored threat actors that monitor and seek vulnerabilities in European companies to ensure the greatest deal of chaos and damage into the lives of European citizens. So we have realized that if we would have a solution, it must be, let's say, global. We have to disperse the attack. We have to be able to see where the attacker will be coming from, and we have to be able to act in these very places where the attacks are coming from, which is why we have decided to employ a technology that's called AnyCast. What it means very simply is that we have locations everywhere in the world that have servers with the same address. So that means, very simply put, it's like, let's say, car sales. You do not have one point from where you can buy the car, but you have different garages around the world from which you can take the car, which, you know, in then technical jargon, improves the latency, so it helps people access the websites, and most importantly, keeps them protected and safe and redundant, which is the idea. We'll have a little water break. 1 second. So when it comes to security, the important word is redundancy. And when it is in one point, it's impossible to build enough of a security in one fortress. But when you can have these fortresses all around the world, and you can ensure that the attacker and his capabilities will be dispersed all around, it makes sure that you can then handle them in each of those locations alone. So it's part of infrastructure that is not built to extinguish fires. It's not reactive as current, let's say, cybersecurity solutions are bound by their very existence to be, but it's more offensive type. It's ensuring that on the basic level, these problems will not happen in the first place. It is always on, so there is no, let's say, on-off button that would then have a team meeting call that everybody needs to run into the committee and decide what the next step. It's something that is always running on the background and always helps. Now, of course, we understand that this is not the end-all be-all of security, which is not the point. There is never going to be one type of attacker, which means there is never going to be able to be just one type of defender. But the general idea, and this is something that is missing as an alternative in Europe, is a provider that would add this layer as a combination and as a synergy with the current solutions that are employed at this very time into an aggregate solution that would then protect and ensure business continuity and ensure that businesses in Europe dependent on digitalization will be able to survive and operate on a daily basis. A good benefit of this, as I had a little map of the world on the left side, or on the right side from your perspective, you can see the green points. It's scalable. So thanks to the, let's say, technology and the topology of AnyCast, you can always add in more POPs, and the more, let's say, places you have where you can protect, the safer it is in total. So it's just a matter of time and resources in which you can, how you can protect. And this leads me to the last slide, which I've called Resilient Europe. There is, in my opinion, 5 most important tenets of what Europe needs to be able to do on a very high level to ensure that it will be stable and competitive with other continents. It's cooperation, so it is sharing data involving cyber threats. It is cooperation when it comes to deploying and the development of security solutions happening in Europe. It's independence, so it's the ability to take apart and not be dependent for the solutions that are currently being in use that would be mostly provided by hyperscalers. It is continuity, which is ensuring that the European citizens will be able to, at any possible time, access all the important information and data that is promised by digitalization. It is about trust, mainly between European countries, in sharing the critical data and sharing the threat intel, sharing the ideas of how to improve this. And it's compliance. So it's listening to the regulators, but also regulators listening to the people who are in the businesses and combining this knowledge in creating a Europe that is built on trust and built on a sovereign Europe. So cybersecurity especially is something that's very complicated to put into words because there needs to be a lot of steps taken, and businesses especially become very vulnerable when they want to have some sort of cybersecurity measure put in place. So this is a barrier that we need to shake off. We need to be able to share these problems. We need to be able to share solutions. And we need to be strong as a sovereign Europe to face threats of tomorrow. So I thank you so much for listening to my talk. There is a workshop led by our developer talking about web hosting that will be happening in the knowledge stage 2. So if you want to understand a little bit more about the technical details, please visit him. And for those in attendance, I'm very happy that you have been here. So thank you so much for your time, and see you soon. Bye-bye.